All right. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it may be. Uh, this is the second video in this series going over periodic trends and kind of navigating the periodic table. In this video, we're going to talk about groups, periods, and blocks. And we're going to start probably with, I don't know, we're going to start with periods because that's the first one listed here. We will also do something with families and classifications later. Those will be separate videos. In fact, there may be two separate videos, one for each. Periods, groups, and blocks are really just how are the periodic table organized? Well, it's organized into rows and columns. But you'll notice when you look at it that there are big square chunks that are kind of grouped together, and those are the blocks. And I want to point those out, color code them, because you are going to have to be able to identify any of those for any given element. So, like I said, four primary ways that they're organized, and really it's just the three: periods, groups, and blocks. Families and classifications are more of a trend that we noticed after the fact, but the blocks, periods, and groups are how we deliberately went out of our way to organize the periodic table. So first off, periods. Periods are just the rows of the periodic table. So if I pull up over here, see if I do this right. Yeah, all right. So if I pull up the periodic table, okay, it is organized into 7 rows. Now, you may be looking at this and going, wait, 7? Why are we getting, no, it's not. There are 9 rows here, but these two on the bottom actually belong in periods 6 and 7. Okay, this section on the bottom goes between here and here. And when we're going through in a later video, I'm actually going to pull up a picture of what the periodic table would look like with this actually here where it belongs. It doesn't fit on a piece of paper very well. So we pull this chunk out and put it on the bottom. Unfortunately, there are about 1,000 different ways to do that, so there are several different things and issues you run into, but I'm going to kind of point those out as we go. So there are 7 rows on the periodic table, or 7 periods. First period is just hydrogen and helium. The second goes from lithium over here to neon. Third is sodium to argon. Fourth is potassium, and now includes this section in the middle, over to krypton. Why? Why did my keyboard pop up? Is there a fly? Yeah, fly landed on it. Okay. From potassium to krypton. Then we have rubidium to xenon. Is that actually? Yeah, xenon, which is period 5. Then period 6 starts at cesium here, and it is the first one where we have this. Notice it's below the dotted line. That means it includes La through Lu here. This is why I told you needed to know lutetium, lawrencium, lanthanum, and actinium. These 4 elements we're going to learn critical things about in this unit. Okay, but period 6 goes from cesium, includes all of these on the top row, and then comes back up here and goes all the way across to radon. And then the last row, period 7, is obviously francium and radium, and includes all of these, actinium through lawrencium, and all the way from lawrencium to Og, which is adenosine. Yeah, adenosine. So those are the 7 periods. Basically, what I expect from you on periods is I should be able to pick out any element on the periodic table, and you should be able to tell me what period it's in. So if I give you germanium, that's period 4. If I give you silver, that's period 5. Okay, if I give you boron, that's period 3. If I give you samarium, that's period 6. Okay, you have to know what period are for these two as well. But that's pretty much it for periods. There's just 7 of them. You just have to remember these 2 go in periods 6 and 7. That takes us then to groups. Now groups, if periods are the rows, groups are the columns. By the way, columns go this way. They're vertical. Okay, there are 18 columns on the periodic table. Unfortunately, those 2 rows at the bottom are once again going to mess with us. So we'll go back to the periodic table. So the groups are across the top here. So the periods go down the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The groups go across the top. 1, 2, 3, skip a few. 16, 17, and 18. Now you'll notice that group 2 is here, group 3 is here, and we just skipped the entirety of this section. Okay, this group, this chunk of the periodic table, by the way, this is called the F block. I'm getting tired of saying weird things. The F block here does not have groups. Okay, we skip over this whole block when we're looking at the periodic table and counting groups, with the exception of 2 elements. Lutetium and lawrencium belong in group 3. Okay, lutetium and lawrencium belong in group 3. They are also often written here at the end of the F block. They are not actually part of the F block. They are part of the D block, which is up here. Okay, that's going to be important later. So these 2 are in group 3. The rest of these have no group. They have a period, they have a family, they have no group. They're classified. No group. You have to know this is period 6, this is period 7, these are period 3, just these 2, and the rest of these on the bottom do not have a group. You are responsible for remembering that on your own. That is probably the hardest part about groups and periods, because the rest of this is really easy. They're labeled. It's the F block down here that tricks people, throws people off. Okay, so keep that in mind. And that will take us finally to blocks. And for this, I'm going to have to color code the periodic table. But first, let's look back at the notes. So for the blocks are 4 lettered sections of the periodic table. Groups and periods are numbered. Okay, period 1, period 3, period 7. Group 17, group 15, group 2. Okay, but the blocks are letters. They are single letters. They are S, P, D, and F. And yes, those letters stand for something. I used to know what it was. I don't remember. I think S stands for spherical. But this is something that we'll talk about this is something that we'll talk about in chemistry for those of you who go on to take chemistry next year, or the year after that, or maybe the year after that. You've got 3 years. These are part of electron configuration. For now, I just want you to know where these blocks are on the periodic table. So I'm going to pull that up, and I'm going to highlight those. I'm going to use blue, purple, green, and red to show you where those blocks are on the periodic table. So first off, we're going to start with the S block, because the S block is the first block on the periodic table. The S block is this chunk right here. This is the S block. Now you'll notice there's a hole in the S block here. Okay, that is because there is an element that is supposed to be there, but it doesn't have much in common with the rest of the stuff in its column, so we put it somewhere else. Helium belongs here. In terms of the blocks, it belongs here. But when we look at its properties, it doesn't have much in common with these other 6 elements over here. It has way more in common with these elements over here. And we'll talk more about why that is when we get to reactivity at the end of this unit. But we draw helium on this end of the periodic table, but it is part of the S block here. So that is another one you have to remember. Okay, the P block is way easy. Come on, give me purple. Okay, the P block is this one right here. Notice it does not include helium because helium goes in the S block. So this, where is the other end? I'm going to be honest. Whenever I look at the periodic table when I was a kid, when I was learning this, it looked like a castle to me. You've got a tower over here, the keep here, and then here's the wall. Okay? The tower is the S block, the keep is the P block, and the wall, that's the D block. There's nothing really tricky about the P block, but there is a little bit of a thing you have to remember with the D block. Now, on my periodic table, lutetium and lawrencium are in the D block, but they are also down here. The reason I have them down here is because the periodic table hanging on my wall over there has them down here and not here. I'm pointing at the wrong spot. Not here. Okay, so I have put them in both spots to help you remember that they go here, but you will often see them here on the periodic table. Okay, so remember, these two are part of the D block. And that leaves us with the F block, which is going to be green. The F block is the rest of this chunk down here. Okay, so S, P, D, and F. And F on the periodic table goes between S and D. So once again, for any element on the periodic table, I expect you to be able to tell me what block it's in. And that's pretty much it. I have several worksheets to kind of help you practice all three of these, periods, blocks, and the other one, groups. Those will be linked in Canvas. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. This one was a little longer than I was hoping it would be, but this is also a separate day of lecture. So, have a wonderful day, folks. Wonderful day, night, evening, whatever. I'll see y'all next time.